week's episode, we're talking about how to organize your paper filing systems. If you have hung around here for any length of time, you know that I love a good system, a good process. That is my jam. So, I'm going to kick this episode off with talking about the 43 folder system. Now, if you're not familiar with that, because I just did a presentation and got so much feedback on it, people weren't aware of what it was. So, I want to share this first because I think it's going to change your paper organization and how you keep things organized. So basically what it is it's 43 hanging file folders. Now the reason why you want them to be hanging is because you're going to be putting other folders, other invites, just anything that's related to dates, you're going to be putting those inside every single folder. So it's just easier if you have them hanging. I actually have a little rolling cart down here that has all my folders. So that way it just makes it that much quicker for me to grab a folder, see what's going on today, and then move on with the next of my morning routine. So here's how you set it up. You have 43 hanging file folders, 1 through 12 for January through December, and then 1 through 31 for all the days of the months that are possible. So when you start this off, you're going to, of course, label your file folders. You'll have January, and then you'll take the date. So 1 through 31, you'll take those folders and you'll put them behind the January folder. And then February will be behind the 31st file folder. So essentially, then you're looking at January 1 through 31, February, March, April, June, July, so on and so forth. Now, what's great about this is if you get an invitation or there's an event that you want to go to and you're like, hey, I need somewhere to put these notes. I don't want to scan them. I don't want to shove them into my planner because stuff will fall out of it. I want to make sure that there's a safe place to keep this information so I don't forget about it. Enter the 43 folders. So you would take that wedding invitation for June 10th of 2022 and you would put it in the June folder since we're not to June 2022 yet. You would just put it in the June folder. Now, at the end of May, when you open up your June folder and you have a ton of different stuff in there, because your 1 through 31 folders are behind the June tab now, then you would just organize, sort all those information. So then you would put the invitation on the date that it belongs. So that way you don't forget about it. Now, I know this can be a little complicated because you can't see it, but trust me, if you have 43 folders and a pile of stuff in your office that you need to organize, this will diminish the pile so quickly. You'll be so glad you set it up. Now, I also use my 43 folder system if I'm following up with a client. So, this is great for salespeople. If you have a client file and you're going to follow up with them on the 10th, and that reminder is sitting in your CRM, but you want to make sure that you have the file folder handy on that same day, this is the perfect system for that because you can just drop the client file into the day that you need to follow up with that client, and it makes it so much easier. So, you know, when you look at your CRM, okay, I'm going to follow up with Bob, Jim, and Robert, all their file folders will be sitting there waiting for you. Total game changer. Now, in regards to current projects, what I do is I have a ladder file folder that what I do is I take every single file folder for every single project that I'm doing and everything goes into that file folder, whether it's scribbled notes, whether it is printouts, whatever it is, everything is self-contained in that folder. Now, if you have a project that you're not currently working on, but you know it's a future project, that will go in my 44th folder, which is the someday maybe file. So that's something that I know that I need to do, maybe a website update that I know that needs to be done, but it's not right now, it's not in the near future, it's in the someday maybe pile. So that will go into that folder so I know where it's in a safe place, and I can come back to it when I need it. Now, all these things that I'm talking about this week can be purchased at any local office supply store. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can even get everything off of Amazon. But if you're interested in looking at pictures to see what my system's like, definitely check out the highlight bubble on Instagram. There's more information there, and I think it's huge when you're able to see the pictures of how the system is laid out. So much easier. Now, in regards to bank statements and receipts, That's a whole nother category. So I'm still using a hanging file folder, but this one's a little different because it's called a poly hanging file folder. And this one has 12 slots inside the folder itself, which allows me to put every single month's bank statement as well as an envelope with all my dated receipts inside that poly envelope. So if there's anything that my accountant needs, I have it saved. Now, if you want to take this system to the next level, you can create the same thing inside Dropbox or G Suite, whichever one you're using. But because I really love paper and the organization is already defined, I really like to use this system because it just makes things so much easier. And the best part is when your taxes are done with and you only need to keep them for a certain amount of time, definitely check with your accountant on this before you go getting rid of anything. For me, it's 7 years. So after that 7 year mark has passed, then all that stuff goes straight into the shredder and it makes it so easy because you just flip the folder upside down, dump it into the shred bin, and goodbye. Let's jump into client files. Now, I mentioned earlier that you could store those in the days that you're going to follow up with that client. But let's say that that folder, that client is a no go, or maybe you've wrapped up everything within the file and you still want to save stuff, but you want to make sure that it's someplace safe, don't necessarily want to scan it, put it anywhere digitally. What I do is I have file boxes that I use. Now, I purchased these from Staples, Office Max, Office Depot, any of those stores. They probably even have them on Amazon. Wherever you prefer to get your office supplies, see if they have a file box available. Then, what I do is title the folder with the customer's last name, their account number, and then below that, what company they're affiliated with. So for me, a lot of times in the financial planning world, there's clients that have multiple accounts, but they're all part of the same household. So what makes it easy is by using a hanging file folder inside this file box, then you can put every single file folder titled by name and account, and there it sits. Now, I don't keep these in this box forever. Eventually, all of these files get scanned into our Dropbox, which is our long term storage. But maybe a month or two, maybe even a quarter, depending on how active the file was or how many different accounts were coming in and out, determines how long it sits in the box. But here's the key: don't leave it there forever because pretty soon you've got file cabinets full of files or file boxes stacking up in your garage. And that's not a good place either because all that information needs to be safely destroyed. We don't want any client information getting out to anybody that shouldn't have it. So if you have access to client information, make sure that it's in a locked file cabinet or inside the vault, like I have here, in labeled file boxes so I know exactly where to find everything. I hope you found value in these tips. Organizing paper can be daunting, especially when you have a giant pile of it and it's overwhelming. The key to remember with any of these systems is that you just have to start. Now, don't feel like you have to complete the entire project in one sitting. Maybe it's just something as simple by ordering everything on Amazon or finding the pile of stuff that needs to be organized amongst all your other piles. Whatever it is, make sure that you're doing bite sized chunks. You don't want to overwhelm yourself because then nothing's going to happen. I've even told people, listen, if just finding the pile is overwhelming, start by clearing a spot next to it. Any little thing that you can do to move these systems that you're putting in place forward is going to eventually lead you to massive results. But though it might not feel like it at the time, every little baby step is drawing you closer to having everything organized.